Hello and welcome to another crack at stage 2 of the Get Rolling series. This is my third attempt at this race now. And I'm riding with two friends in this one. So I'm riding with Steve Jukes, who I rode this race with him yesterday. And I've ridden I think like 5 other races before this one with him. And I'm also with Jonathan Huber, who I think I've only ridden hill climb races with before, but I might be wrong about that. But yeah, I think it's only hill climb races. And between the three of us, we had like kind of vague plan. So Steve had some kind of pretty definite ideas of what he wanted to do. He wanted to make attacks at specific points, and he had them kind of pinned down to actual kind of distances. He wanted to make some attacks there. And Jonathan had suggested that we make a push when the camera angle changes at the top of the second gravel climb, and that we make a push like 500 meters out from the finish line. And that last one's not like particularly, like everyone kind of goes from that point. So yeah, not like kind of particularly like sneaky planning on our part. So Jonathan and Steve don't have any way to talk to each other. So I told Jonathan what Steve's plans were. And Steve wasn't like, we don't have Discord. We're not doing like voice chatting or anything. And Steve didn't even have the companion app running. And Jonathan and I are just talking during the race on the companion app. So yeah, not like the most kind of coordinated team kind of plotting and scheming. But I hope no one would no one in the race would think this is like too on call. I thought it was okay to do. Everyone's kind of free to do this sort of thing. But it is a little bit of an advantage. I do admit that. But yeah, I just hope no one would find that too on call to have done. And that aside, it was really good fun to do. I found it really cool to have like a plan to follow on Steve's attack plan was really good fun to do, even though it was like really hard. Yeah, like working with Jonathan was really cool as well. So I found it really enjoyable. So yeah, hope no one finds it like too negative that we did that. So we're coming up to 2.1k, and Steve's going to make his first attack here. And I don't know how long he's going to attack for or how hard. So I'm just going to kind of play it by ear and just follow his lead. So Steve makes his move, and then I just kind of follow him. And Jonathan does pretty much the same. He's in the same position. He just has to kind of follow what we're doing. And then he eases off, and then we just ease off. And then you can see in the top right corner the map, it's started to kind of string out a bit. It's not like hugely broken up, but it has kind of started to stretch out a bit. And when I did this race the 2 times before, it had just been like a big blob. The pack just stayed together until the second gravel climb, where things kind of started to stretch out a bit more. So this is going to start to help encourage things to spread out a bit. And the idea was just to kind of repeat that a couple of times throughout the race. And so whilst the pack are kind of starting to coalesce around us here, we're just kind of starting to recover so that we can make another attack in a couple of kilometers. So coming up on 4.3 kilometers, and this is where Steve wants to make his second attack. So rinse and repeat of the first one, just like follow his move and push when he pushes, and then ease off when he eases off. And Jonathan does it exactly the same again. And so we just do that, and it's the kind of same result as the last time. Maybe a little more pronounced this time because it's on a bit of a hill, so things start to string out a little bit more. And then yeah, like at the end of it, start to recover. And then shortly after this, a few minutes later, I'm starting to kind of really feel this. And I'd messaged Jonathan before this race and said I was kind of feeling pretty tired, and we'll just kind of play it by ear, see how it goes. But then at this point, I'm starting to like really feel these efforts, and I know we've got I know coming up really shortly at this point, we're coming up to the final attack point of Steve's, and then that's going to take us into the gravel climb. That's like the main feature of this course, where things going to start to get torn apart. And I know Jonathan wants to make a push at the top of the gravel climb as well, so I think it's going to be pretty hard. So I messaged Jonathan and said I'm pretty dead. And Jonathan replied and said, I always feel dead, just push through it. And for some reason I kind of found that quite motivating, and that was kind of pretty good to hear. So yeah, I just thought okay, I'll try and push on. And so that is what we're going to do. Steve's kind of final attack point is here. So follow Steve and just push. And this time, this one like really took things out on me. And this kind of started... things started to come a bit downhill for me at this point. I was like really feeling it at the end of this attack and on this gravel climb, and I thought I was going to drop off a couple of points here. This is like a minute later into the gravel climb, and I'm like really feeling like I'm pretty much done at this point. I'll use the draft power up here just to try and make things a little bit easier, because I was basically kind of ready to fall off here. I needed kind of any help I could get, and I know that coming up shortly in like maybe a minute or so, I've got it's the point where Jonathan wants to make a push from. So I need all the help I can get. If I'm going to be able to do that, then yeah, I need to kind of get any help I can. But I thought I was done for at this point, I think. And here is that push where the camera changes and Jonathan wants to make a push. So I'm just kind of giving it all I can here, and I'm pretty much like I'm on my limit. I'm kind of emptying the tank. And then you can see there's this guy K440. He's gone off the front there, and he's making a kind of really big go. And I'm just, because I'm feeling on the limit, I'm thinking like, oh man, I'm kind of done for. But then Jonathan sends this message here to say K440 is not on Zwift Power, which is like is incredible. I don't know how like in the middle of this bit where he wants to make a push, he's also off on Zwift Power checking profiles. He's a really strong rider, Jonathan. So like, yeah, hats off to him. But again, that's like another shot in the arm from Jonathan. So that made me kind of think, all right, it's still kind of up a grab. So I'll make a push and get back on. And I have to do it a few times. There's a few surges I have to do here because I just keep kind of drifting towards the back. But I'm kind of pretty determined to try and stay with them, hang on, because if that guy's not on Zwift Power, then potentially we can get on the podium. Maybe one of us can get the win. So yeah, push on. And there's recovery coming, so just like, try and hang on for that. Then we get to the banner, and it's power up time to see what power ups we get for the finish. And I picked up a draft band, which is really cool because the last 2 times I've done this, I picked up a feather, which is kind of useless for this end here. And Jonathan has picked up a feather. I'm kind of unlucky, and so he suggests that he'll kind of leave me out, like I'll draft behind him. And then shortly after that, shortly, it's like a minute later after the banner, it switches over to an aero for him. Like, I've never seen it do that before. That's news to me, but it just suddenly changed to an aero. So we just said we'll kind of go ahead with the plan that like 500 meters out, we'll make a push. And I'd said to him, if you're feeling strong, then like you go for the win. But otherwise, I've got a slightly stronger sprint than Jonathan. So yeah, I'll maybe kind of try and get past him on towards the end. So that is the plan. So yeah, just like let's see how that goes. And so here we go. So Jonathan uses aero, so I use my draft van, and we start to make a push, and a few others kind of using their arrows and making a kind of big sprint for the finish. So I'm just kind of trying to sit behind those guys and draft behind those until we get to like around about 250 meters, and then like now I'm kind of really going for it, seeing if I can get past them, pushing with what I've got, and I managed to get past them on just before the line here, and Jonathan actually manages to pip this guy on the line as well. So yeah, we get second and third on Zwift, and like K440, like as I said, is not on Zwift Power. So yeah, first and second. So really cool result. The only way it could have been better is if Steve had been with us and the 3 of us had got the podium spots. But unfortunately, that didn't pan out. So yeah, next best thing. This was a really cool outcome. So yes, my first Z race win in BCAT, and it's not a win on Zwift, but it is a win on Zwift Power, and that's like where it matters. So that's cool. I would not have been able to do that without Jonathan and Steve. That would not have been possible. The pair of them like completely set that up, and Jonathan like kind of dragged me around at the end there. So, and the motivational stuff. So, and Steve's like, attacks, they got completely softened up and broke the pack up. So. I'll put a link to their channels in the description. Make sure to check them both out. Both are really cool, strong riders, and they've both got good content on YouTube. So yeah, check those guys out. And I hope it was cool to watch. I'm sure that people who ride in team stuff kind of find this stuff like this is like Bush League stuff. But I found this really cool to do, and Jonathan said the same as well. I found this kind of really interesting. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and see you in the next one.